All right, tell me if this sounds normal to you. A billionaire tweets, and suddenly a $2.4 billion contract gets reevaluated. A new federal department, run by that same billionaire's allies, gain access to confidential records on housing discrimination and domestic violence. And a former president tells one of the biggest companies in the world to scrap its diversity programs right after they reject a proposal to do exactly that. If your first thought was, wait, what? Yeah, same here. Let's get into it. What's going on, tech lovers? Welcome to another exciting Tech Talk episode on the Leo podcast, where we explore the world of technology and innovation in a bite-sized, informative, and fun way. I'm your host, Kevin Munoz, and in today's episode, we'll be diving into 3 stories that have been making headlines in the tech world. It's Monday, March 3rd, and before we dive into today's tech stories, I gotta give a quick shout out to our Palomitas community over at patreon.com/latinamericaneo if you want extra spicy, unfiltered bonus stories and behind the scenes content, plus help these episodes rolling. Come hang with us where the real fun happens. But don't worry if you're not a patron yet, you're in for a treat with this episode as always, packed with great content. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. All right, familia, for our first story of the day, let's talk about air traffic control, billion-dollar contracts, and because of course, Elon Musk. The FAA, that's the Federal Aviation Administration, was all set to roll with Verizon for a $2.4 billion overhaul of air traffic control communications. But then, plot twist, now it looks like the contract might go to Starlink, which, as we all know, is part of Musk's ever-growing empire of why not just let me do it projects. Here's the situation. The FAA is trying to update its aging communication systems because, keeping planes from bumping into each other is kind of important. Verizon had already won the contract to handle this, but now a team inside the FAA, which conveniently includes some SpaceX employees with FAA email addresses, nothing to see here, folks, is recommending that the whole thing go to Starlink instead. This is what I call the Musk factor. Elon Musk, being Elon Musk, didn't wait for a decision. He went full X mode, claiming that Verizon's system is basically falling apart, putting air travelers in serious danger. He even went as far as to say that Starlink would step in at no cost to the taxpayer to save the day. Now, to be fair, the FAA's tech does need an upgrade, but handing the contract to SpaceX without following the usual process, well, that raises some serious eyebrows. This is also getting political real fast. Musk has been cozying up to the Trump administration, and let's just say that the government contracts have been very good to him. His companies have reportedly received around $38 billion in contracts, subsidies, and loans over the years. So when the FAA administrator suddenly resigns after Musk calls for it, and then his company gets recommended for a huge contract, well, you do the math. Now, look, we all want safer skies. No one's saying the FAA shouldn't modernize, but this whole process, it's looking real shady. If Starlink is the better option, great, but shouldn't there be a fair process for deciding that? At the end of the day, this is about whether billionaires should be able to tweet their way into government deals, and whether we should just start calling Musk Elon Washington at this point, because he's basically running his own branch of government. But let me know what you think. Is Musk actually helping, or is this just another billionaire power grab? Hit me up with your thoughts in the comment section of the podcast below, or simply send me a DM or voicemail on my website. Now, stick around because up next, we're talking about Trump versus Apple's DEI programs, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right, familia, for our second story of the day, let's talk about Apple diversity programs and Donald Trump telling companies what to do. Again, big tech has been quietly scaling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, efforts since Trump got back into the White House. But Apple just told Trump, nah, we're good. And to give you a little backstory, here's the deal. Companies like Meta and Google have already started dropping the DEI programs because Trump and his administration are pressuring businesses to cut them. He's calling these initiatives discriminatory and has even suggested the Department of Justice might start investigating them. That's got a lot of companies sweating. Unlike other tech giants, though, Apple didn't just roll over. A conservative think tank tried to get shareholders to vote on killing Apple's DEI efforts, but they shut it down big time. We're talking 8.84 billion votes against the proposal. That's not just a rejection, that's a don't even think about it. Now, Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, did say that they might have to tweak some things depending on how the legal landscape shifts, but overall, they're sticking to their diversity goals and their whole culture of belonging thing. Now, of course, Trump wasn't about to let this slide. He went on Truth Social and basically told Apple to completely get rid of its DEI programs, saying that DEI was a hoax that has been very bad for our country. DEI is gone. Which, first of all, it's not gone, but okay, Mr. President. Now, the bigger picture of this all is that this isn't just about Apple. There's already a lawsuit against Target over its DEI initiatives with claims that they misled investors and led to financial losses. So we're probably going to see more companies getting pressured legally and politically to step back from diversity efforts. At the same time, Apple is playing both sides because just last week they announced a $500 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing. That includes a new factory in Houston and 20,000 jobs. Trump loved that news, saying it shows Apple has faith in what we're doing. So, as you can imagine, yeah, it's complicated. This is part of a bigger fight over what corporate responsibility should look like. Should companies prioritize diversity, or should they just stick to making money and avoid political drama? And is Trump going to keep bullying companies into doing things his way? What do you think? Hit me up with your thoughts in the comments section of the podcast below, or simply send me a DM or voicemail on my website. Up next, we're diving into Musk's DOGE team and confidential government records. All right, familia, for our third and final story of the day, we've talked about Musk possibly taking over air traffic control, but let's switch gears because now Musk and his team in the government just got access to some very sensitive records. And we're talking about domestic violence reports, medical records, housing discrimination complaints, stuff that absolutely should not be floating around where just anyone can see it. So, what exactly is going on? Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, aka DOGE, has been on a major data grab lately. First, they tried getting their hands on taxpayer data from the IRS, then Social Security records, and even Treasury payment systems. But now they've successfully accessed a highly confidential database at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. And here's why it matters. This HUD system's called HEMS, or HEMS, holds deeply personal info on hundreds of thousands of people. We're talking survivors of domestic violence, including their new addresses, which are supposed to be private for safety reasons. Victims of housing discrimination, including legal complaints against landlords, disability cases with medical records and financial data. And guess what? The usual safeguards, redactions, anonymization weren't applied. DOGE got direct access to everything. As you can imagine, people inside HUD are not happy about this. Some are even quitting in protest. Civil rights groups are saying this could be a massive violation of privacy laws, and multiple federal judges have already blocked DOGE from accessing similar databases at other agencies. Even worse, there's a fear that this isn't about government efficiency at all. Some experts believe Musk's team could be trying to shut down anti-discrimination programs by digging through records for reasons to justify cuts. Oh, and the Trump administration is also reportedly planning to slash 76% of HUD's fair housing enforcement staff. So yeah, this really looks like part of a bigger strategy. Look, we all want government to be more efficient, but does that mean letting Musk's team snoop around people's most personal information? And shouldn't an agency that's supposed to fight discrimination be stripped down right after DOGE gets access to its files? Seems sketchy. What do you think? Is this just another billionaire trying to fix government, or something way more dangerous? As usual, hit me up with your thoughts in the comment section of the podcast below, or simply send me a DM or voicemail on my website. And there you have it, tech enthusiasts, another thrilling Tech Talk episode wrapped up. As the tech landscape continues to evolve, we'll be here to bring you the latest, the intriguing, and the downright mysterious. As usual, a big shout out to our amazing supporters at patreon.com/latinoamericaneo. Your support keeps these episodes going. So until next time, tech lovers, stay curious, stay tech savvy, and keep riding the waves of innovation. I'm your host, Kevin Munoz, signing off from the Leo Podcast. Don't forget to join our Palomitas community on Patreon for exclusive content, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Tech Talk.